If you're in a job, you're thinking about leaving it, and you've experienced a pay rise and your happiness hasn't increased in proportion to the pay rise, leave.
Self-medication. When the existential pain starts to bear so much on your shoulders that you're like, I'm going to just blast myself on Friday to Sunday.
I'm just going to ingest things.
Yeah.
In a desperate hope that it's going to make this job feel less shit. People should be allowed to enjoy themselves on a weekend. But if that enjoyment is medication, or if that enjoyment on a weekend is, if it's done in an effort to be like an anaesthetic for what's going on in the week.
People think they start a job, they're like fresh out of school, fresh out of uni, and they're like, oh, it's a bit crap, but it'll probably get better. And then like 20 years later, it's
not got better.
The person who loves the 9-to-5 job is the person who is all right with the shit things about the 9-to-5 job. The person who's good as an entrepreneur is the person who's all right with the fact that like next month
you might make no money.
You might make no money. Next month, in 6 months, you might be out of business.
Can you deal with potentially going for 2 months or 3 months without earning any money? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm joined by Johnny and Yusuf from propanefitness.com. Business Principles 102. 102. Did so good on the last one. Gonna do it again?
Doing another one.
Gonna do another one.
Was one of our most popular new episodes that we've released in a while. Went down super well. And this episode is brought to you by So Right. If you haven't seen one of these before, Joe Rogan and David Goggins went on about it for ages on their podcast together, and it shut their website down. So there's a business principle for you. Make sure you got enough server space that if Joe Rogan and David Goggins start talking about your product, it doesn't break.
Be ready.
So it is a SOAS manipulation tool. If you sit down at a desk all day, we are talking business principles. If you sit down at a desk all day, you will have a tight psoas. I'm right in saying it's the only muscle which actually connects the trunk to the spine. Is that right? Or one of the primary muscles that does it. So it gets tight when you sit down. That helps to relieve it. We've all got one, and we've been using them pretty regularly. It does help when you've been sat cranking out a big long day in the office and to relieve things. So all that you need to do, leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you are listening, and I'll pick someone to win.
Sorry, it's not the only muscle that connects the trunk to the spine. It's the only muscle that crosses the pelvis.
That connects the trunk.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. There we go. Well,
so
a little bit.
I think is a filet mignon on a cow.
Ah,
that's interesting.
I think,
so you can eat.
So you'll have
So
a
if I
great
cook
filet
you,
mignon.
if I cook you,
After using the So Right, then it would be more tender.
Lovely.
It's not load bearing in a cow, which is why it's so tender.
Interesting. So, business principles 102.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot last time. We talked about our sort of genesis stories for business, about how we got started, about how useless a university degree is when it comes to running a business. So one of the main questions that we get asked a lot is when someone should make the decision about whether or not to leave their current employment and take the big leap into being self-employed. Yeah, pulling that pin. You started to talk about your decision when you were sat on a couch that I no longer have.
I think I've made the decision
by then. Yeah. So
it's like jumping out of a plane and hoping that the parachute cord works.
People make the decision often either way too prematurely, like, oh mate, I'm going to start like a new tea company, it's going to be sick. I've not got any clients yet.
It's so accurate.
I've got no clients, but like I'm working, I'm just going to quit my job, like I'm currently working as like a management consultant. But anyway, like I know that like I just need like 2 days to get my drop shipping sorted, and it's like,
mate, you are 8 months away from launch and you have 2 weeks of money in the bank.
It's sick though, because like, you know, I've got a logo, and my mate's a designer, innit? So he's going to make my look, and you're like, oh no, just wait until your profits start to like eclipse your salary, and then it's like, oh, okay.
So I think one of the cool, interesting little thought experiments that we've done over the last couple of years, which is a good strategy to do with other people as well. If you hear someone complaining about their job or complaining about their boss or whatever it might be, this is a good strategy to use on them. And we promised that we were going to do it before the last one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a salary. Now, at home, you can take your own salary and deduct as is appropriate, but we'll have to Johnny, I'm going to pretend that you are a person in some normal job. Let's say that your take-home pay per year is £20,000. Okay.
Gross.
Take home.
Net.
Because you live in net land.
Oh, okay.
Let's say 20 grand. So that's about 1,200 quid a month, I think.
Okay.
Net received, I believe.
Okay. So
If it's 20 grand gross.
Do you not believe me?
If it's 20 grand net.
20 grand gross.
Oh, okay.
20 grand gross. And that's like maybe just below a starting salary for a graduate scheme, something like that. Maybe 21, 22.
I think it's pretty much at a starting salary.
Cool. So you've got 20 grand and I'm going to, you are normal graduate scheme, but let's imagine that you're someone who's a little bit unhappy with their job, thinking about maybe starting up their own thing. I'm going to offer you some concessions at work.
So this was me.
Yep. I'm going to offer you some concessions.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me how much of your wage you're going to give me back for the things that I'm offering that you can have.
Okay. Am I doing this as me?
As you in the role that you were at the job that you were at the time that you left. So you are allowed to wear your own clothes whenever you want. So you don't need to go to work in office dress. How much are you going to give me back?
Per month or per year?
Per year. Let's take it off the 20.
So, yeah, I have trouble fitting into suits. Let's say 100 quid.
Across the whole year?
Oh, across the whole year? I thought this was monthly.
No, so £1,500.
Oh, no, I can't think like that. Can we do monthly?
£1,200 a year, £100 a month. Oh, but then in gross and net.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just I get 1,200 quid a month, and in exchange for that 1,200 quid a month, I have to go somewhere and do stuff, dress in a certain way, at a certain time.
Okay.
So you're saying I have to do all that, but I can go
pajamas,
jogging bottoms, and t-shirt.
Yeah. How much are you going to get?
100 quid. So
100 quid a month.
I've got 1,100 quid left.
Okay. Now you can choose your own start time, and you can choose if you want to have weekends off. You can basically ultimate flexi time.
Okay.
Could get up at 6 p.m. at night and do the shift.
So I've got to do 35 hours a week, but as I please.
Yes. I can't believe you gave me 100 quid back per month just so you could wear.
I know. I over-egged that, didn't I?
Well, I've got it now. Sorry.
Fuck. Because I've boxed myself into a situation here.
Yeah.
Because soon I'll just have nothing.
We can renege on the 100 quid.
Can't renege. He's given us it.
He's already given
How much?
it.
How much?
200 quid.
Another 200.
Yeah.
For you to be able to flex around.
Well, because now, hold on, is location flexed? Still got to go to the place.
Still got to go to work.
100.
100.
I should have done 50 for the clothes.
Well, too late. Sorry. So you're at £1,000.
Suits don't fit me.
You're at £1,000 a month now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm naked. and
Potentially.
coming in whenever I want.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty good situation, Dean, wouldn't you say?
Pretty good situation.
For £1,000 a month.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to interact with anyone at work that you don't want to.
No, thank you. That's fine.
So does that, I'm going to be difficult, does that mean that like a boss comes up to me and goes, you got to do this?
And you can just go la 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 la.
And they just go.
Well, no, but it would be...
Black Mirror blocking style.
It would be submitted through someone that you actually liked. Everyone that you worked with
doesn't
would
affect
be...
my workflow.
Everyone that you worked with would be someone that you liked.
So you're not going to get much for that.
Okay. How much am I going to get?
Why not for that?
Just because I think the thing that it affects you most is like what you're doing.
Okay.
And like most of the stuff that happens is on a screen.
Okay,
In most
so-
people's jobs. You're gonna have 50 quid for that.
50 quid. Okay, so we're at 950. Now you're allowed to work from home.
Hello. The thing is fucking hell.
You can see the accountant in him just being like, right. So
Well,
what
because
can I live
soon I'm gonna have like still a fairly shit situation for like 400 quid a month.
on? Okay. Keep
And you're like, well, I'll just go with
Come on.
crap.
So how much are you giving me for working from home?
100 quid.
Another 100 quid. So 850 we're down to now. Seth, you got any concessions that you can think of here that we would be able to
Okay.
tempt him with?
So we have flexi time.
How about
We
work
have-
that I like?
No, we're getting onto that.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
That's the fucking tip of the spear.
Oh, I see. That's when it just goes to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have freedom of location,
Yeah. We have working with people that you like.
which didn't get much interest.
Yeah, no, it didn't really.
It didn't
No,
tickle
you
his
didn't say
pickle.
that. You said I don't have to speak to people that I don't like.
You don't have to work with people that you don't like. Well, yeah, on the flip side of that, it's working with people that you do like.
But those people are there now. There's just also some people that I don't like.
Right, but they're not there anymore. So that's...
But they are for me. Oh no, I paid for that, didn't it? They're gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
What did I pay? 50 quid?
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I paid too much for their clothes, Dean.
Okay. So you're allowed to take the worst 20% of tasks that you do that provide you with the 80% of ball egg, and you can outsource that.
So is that reducing my hours?
Yeah.
So
keeping his hours the same.
So you would keep your hours the same, but your what you would do day to day, what fills those hours is the nicer tasks.
You're not paying for it?
No.
Okay, how about, here's this. You're no longer paid based on your hourly wage. You're only based on work done. You have an allocation.
That's more like it. 200 quid.
650. So
Because I'll just do a morning.
Mm-hmm. Because you can crack out the work of a normal human in a morning.
Yeah.
Well,
easily.
So this is assuming that, like, in a 35-hour work week, you can do it in less time if you just work harder.
You definitely can.
You can.
Categorically can.
But then that would suggest that the initial allocation of work was too low.
It suggests that. Well, I think in some
it's
not. It's as in your job. When you completed work, you just got given more.
But we were equalising for hours on the previous question.
Yeah, but that's why we said no. He said no, so I've renegotiated.
You have people react to incentives. So if your incentive is, I have some work to do, but I have to stay till 5 o'clock. Are you going to work fast or not, or slow or medium?
You are slow down.
You'll just pace it out, won't you? Or there's no reason to rush. Because you've got to do Monday to Friday, you've got to do 9 to 5. Yeah. Someone says to you,
if I finish my work too quickly,
scone, you can go home at midday if you just do it all. What happens to scone?
Well, the concern is then that you rush so much that your work gets done at a lower quality, isn't it?
As long as it's at a quality that's enough.
So we're now at 6.
At the moment, I'm working a morning. I'm naked. In fact, no, I can work whenever I want. I'll do 4 a.m. till 8 a.m. I'm going to do all my work for the week naked in the office before anyone gets in.
And you don't have to speak to anyone.
You can work from home. You're working from home.
Am I? Have we done that one?
Have we said you can work from home?
Yeah,
I bought that.
You paid for it, yeah.
Wow.
Dungan paid
so
for
I'm getting 600 quid for a couple of hours work on a Monday morning naked at home.
Yep.
Sounds alright.
Sounds pretty good.
Sounds very like my life.
So my point is, and we could take this all the way up, I could say, how much would it be to exchange the job that you're doing for something which you have full, complete creative control over? How much would it be for me to get you to be able to have your wage grow in line with the value that you create for the business that you are working in? Keep on chugging away.
You feel like you're adding value, like you feel satisfaction from what you do.
So you can imagine if you're listening at home, like, think about this in your own head. Think about how many concessions you could make with all of this sort of stuff. I've managed to sit around a dinner table and get someone to pay me to come to his job. Like, hated his job a lot more than you did, and you weren't a massive fan. But was just so keen to get out of the office, get away from the people he didn't like, not have to wear the shit suits, not have to fucking blah blah blah, all that sort of bollocks. He was paying me to go to his job. You're like, how much do you need to hate your job to pay someone to not have to do it anymore?
I think so someone messaged me about accountancy after the last episode, and there's something that he said in the message which resonated with me, and I think this is probably the case. Anyone who doesn't like their job, we need to go into box A, box B stuff at some point. But I think people think they start a job, they're like 19, fresh out, how old are you? 21, or fresh out of school, fresh out of uni, and they're like, oh, it's a bit crap, but it'll probably get better. And then 20 years later, it's
not got better.
Because of course it isn't going to get better. At 21, everything is completely novel, everything's brand new, it's the first time you've done everything. People are really not expecting very much from you. You get to go home at 5 o'clock.
And you've got your health, you've got no commitments, you've got no dependence financially.
Yeah.
Usually your parents are in good health, you might be in a relationship, or you might, be...
The dark spectre of mortality hasn't started to hang over you yet.
The scythe. But I suppose, you maybe aren't adding much value, it isn't feeling that rewarding at that point, but I definitely felt, joined and felt this wasn't really what I was expecting. I waited and hoped it would get better, and it didn't really. And also, something else for me was I could see, because of the way the job I did worked, I could see people who were like 5, 6, 7 years down the line, and I'm looking at them going like,
that was the big one for me. Looking at my seniors and saying they are miserable, tired, they look old for their age, and
they would just moan. They would just moan about it. And I'm like, if they'd all been like going home at 3:00 in their Aventador to a mansion in the hills, I'd be like, fine. Like at least like we're all on the same page here. Like it's a bit shit, but look what happens
because the salary progress is like that.
Yeah, but yeah. So you could see that, and I think people hold on to something because they always think, oh well, it'll turn around, it'll get better, and then before you know it, you're 50, and it's all too late.
In a typical job, you're totally right. You have the ability to see your future years within that company ahead of you, and it's your boss and your boss's boss, and so on and so forth. And
sometimes, like some people will think, like I'm really jealous of my boss, and definitely, like the boss of most companies are doing all right, but most organizations are also like that. They aren't like that. Yeah. Like everybody doesn't become the boss in the top salary. So, like by definition, there's a process of elimination. So that's when the thought process for me came in of like, well, all right, there's at some point there's going to be me versus him in an interview, and I just want to go home at 5:00, and he loves staying till 8. Who's going to win the interview? So then, so all the questions you're asking me, like what I actually think is the best, the number one reason to leave is if you just do something that you like doing, then you don't really think about, like I don't care about any of that stuff really. Like I don't really care about now how many hours I'm working, or I mean I'm aware of it.
Well, I mean you have had to create automatic structures on your laptop to stop you from working.
Yeah.
You have an app on your laptop which shuts it down at 5:00 no matter what you're doing. If you're in the middle of an email or sending out an SOS call because you've been hit by a car, like there is a thing that stops your laptop from working.
Because that's that's what normal people do, and I have to try and be normal sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we have conversations with girlfriends where it's like you're on holiday and you're like, please can I just have a couple of hours to work in the morning?
Oh yeah, I had a difficult negotiation of like, right, we're going away for 4 days. It is longer than I can tolerate without work. I'm gonna have to. I'll get up early. I'm gonna have to do 5 to 6 hours in the mornings. And it's like, what? No, that's ridiculous. Yes, I know. But here we are.
But I'm sorry about me.
Yeah, sorry for being me. But yeah, so like you don't. There was a palpable shift for me from like I'm here, I'm resenting it. I want to go home. I want to be let out of this. To like actually, I don't mind. Like if I'm watching something like Love Island's on in the background, I'm like, quick bit of work.
So someone might be unhappy in their job. What are some of the real key triggers that you think people need to be looking out for? Because unfortunately, this is one area of business/careers which I'm wholly unqualified to talk about because I've never, except for a summer at the AA, had a job.
Summer at the AA?
I was like on the call, on the
You weren't like driving the truck to go,
no.
Did not know about this.
It was, you'd have known me at the time, but I did calling during my placement, yeah.
Right.
I was like, I need some extra cash, so I went and did that for 4 months.
Didn't like it. I'm guessing you're not going to go, I loved it.
Oh, fucking me.
Class?
No.
Okay, interesting. So, number one behaviour, pacifying behaviour. So, self-medication. When the existential pain starts to bear so much on your shoulders that you're like, I'm going to just blast myself on Friday to Sunday, get absolutely...
With all sorts.
With all sorts.
I'm just going to ingest things.
Yeah.
In a desperate hope that it's going to make this job feel less shit.
It's exactly that, yeah. It's like ingest things. So like looking for inane types of media to consume, putting very calorie dense things in your mouth. Putting cream in your mouth.
Just one form of medication after another.
Like lots of...
I joke about the cream, but people do, like, overconsume alcohol, like get a takeaway on a Friday night because it's Friday. Like, we'll have a special breakfast on Saturday because it's Saturday. And they're creating this like perfect world over a weekend. Because the week is so unpleasant.
And this is different to work hard, play hard. I don't think it's the same. I think work hard, play hard is like have defined time boxes for when you do productive deep work and have times where you're relaxing fully. That's not the same as spending Friday to Sunday semi-conscious and then rolling into Monday.
Work hard, drink hard.
Oh, here we go again.
I suppose it's like the living for the weekend thing, isn't it? Like if you really, like, you know, when people like post everything on Instagram being like, oh, hump day and all the shit about like, oh, it's Wednesday, or halfway through the shit, closer to Friday when I can go out and get drunk and forget about Monday to Friday.
I don't mean to judge people that do this, by the way. Like, this is definitely an experience that we've been through ourselves and done this, and I just think really it's a red flag.
It's just a warning sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
If
like
you're doing
my knee
it-
hits. Like, oh, right.
Okay.
What have you been doing with your knee?
Yeah.
There's not. Yeah, you are totally right. Like, people should be allowed to enjoy themselves on a weekend, but if that enjoyment is medication, or if that enjoyment on a weekend is done to
Excess.
if it's done in an effort to be like an anaesthetic for what's going on in the week.
Yeah. So like, there's one thing like going out on a Friday with your mates because you love going out on Friday with your mates and actually like you really like your life or otherwise, versus I really need a drink because it's Friday.
Because my boss is a cunt, or because I have to wear a suit every day, or I have to get up and go to work at this time, or do work which isn't creative, or all other things that you gave me £550 back for.
Yeah. Well, now I'm winning. But yeah, so anything to try and like avoid the Monday to Friday reality.
So that's a warning sign. What else?
I think just not like, it's hard because I think it's really easy when we both had like a something to go and do. So I think part of the reason why I was so like anti it was I was very aware of an alternative, of like how interested I was in that and like the possibility where it might go.
That's interesting, because if that wasn't there, there'd be one of two things would happen. Either you would feel like you'd lost your mojo and be like, you're turning up for work and you're like, this is meant to be my ultimate purpose in life and I really don't feel like it matches with my with some vague sense of my inner purpose. Or you invest all of that desire for purpose into something like vicarious enjoyment of something else. So like going like, and again, I was going to say
don't caveat it.
like investing it all into a dog or a football team or something that like it becomes the surrogate for all of your meaning in your life, and that
Unactualized passion.
Yeah,
I think because I've often wondered if Propane didn't exist, would I have just like learned to love accounting? Like maybe I would. I think that I'm convinced that that's what some people do.
I think you could if Propane didn't exist and you were on the track that you were in, I think you would have gone into an adjacent field that still allowed you to leverage your
express other things.
Yeah.
Because I think in the sober
probably end up working for like a social media marketing
probably
startup or something.
Still just doing spreadsheets. Dan Gibson has he just sees the world as like everyone's just doing spreadsheets. Like it doesn't matter what they're doing.
It's true.
It's all just spreadsheets. Like
every graduate scheme.
We run a fitness business.
Mostly on spreadsheets.
You run club promo.
Let me tell you, Dan, my business has got nothing to do with spreadsheets.
I've seen your spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't do much with them.
Yeah, no, that's true. One thing that I can think, again, another warning flag potentially for someone who's thinking about their career, is how hard is it to get yourself out of bed in the morning when you've got work?
Yeah. Like
if you really, really have to fucking force yourself out of bed and you're 2 coffees deep by the time that you get into the office and it just doesn't light a fire. We did an episode for what the name of this podcast was before it was called Modern Wisdom that has never been aired, on purpose and meaning. It took 2 hours. But one thing that came out of that I don't forget is the best synopsis of what is purpose in life is a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It's like
a good metric.
The coolest way, just the roughest hewn way to work out what purpose is. Oh, I'm getting out of bed in the morning for something.
I remember Becca saying, after I quit and was doing this, I was just whistling one morning. Like I was like drinking my coffee, like getting ready, putting my own clothes on, whistling. And she was like, she like stopped and looked at me and like, are you taking the piss? And I was like, what do you mean? Because like building up to that, like every morning was like, In fact, I think I even used to
That's really
sing
nice.
a song which was, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to work.
Oh, God. If you are singing a song which is called I Don't Want to Go to Work, I think that's a good indication.
But
That's so lovely, because the fact that the question was even like, are you taking the piss?
it was so unusual.
that you were like so sarcastic about your life.
It stops becoming work, but I'm moving on too quickly.
Do you not think the reason that you got asked about that is that whistling is so caricaturistically hi ho, it's off to work we go. Like it's almost as if you're like, oh what you're going to have to go and work for your boss. Put your suit on, peasant. I'm just going to lie here with my cock out.
Hi ho, hi ho,
Yeah.
hi ho.
I've paid £200 a month to have the privilege.
You've got no idea how much it cost me to get to this position to be able to whistle in the morning. But yeah, so escapist behaviour, not wanting to get out of bed in the morning.
Sense of mojo lost, vicarious enjoyment of putting your meaning into something.
And the stuff I said before as well, like you just don't like it. Like you don't feel excited, you don't feel... Because there will be people who work a 9-to-5 job, I assume, who love it, who feel like they're valued, who feel like they add a lot, who feel like they're really good at it.
So this is my
have a lot of independence.
This is my next question, which is, you can be unhappy in your job, and many people are. I think the statistic is that 85% of people in the US are either
Neutral
or actively dissatisfied, as actively unengaged as opposed to actively engaged. 15% people in the US, that's it. So the only the option for you is not only to go work for yourself, though.
Absolutely.
You can move to another bureaucratic organization, you can move to a startup, you can move to other things. So the next question is, okay, we've worked out that if you're not unhappy in your job, then like, fantastic, listen and enjoy the remainder of these episodes, use them to supplement your understanding of the business world, but you don't need to think about how they're going to apply to what you're doing. Stick at what you do and become better and move up within that organization. Whereas, next little route down the thought tree is, I'm unhappy. Should I work for myself or should I move to another company and work for someone else? How do we work that out?
On that note, there's this thought experiment you did where you take away certain things. You know Juji Mufu, the guy, the like now very famous and rich acrobat. He initially set up his life in the way that you described to start with, which was that he had a job that was like 10 till 4, and he was like bookkeeping or like admin stuff that was quite cognitively easy. It allowed him a 2-hour lunch break, flexible time, and he set it up so that he was able to do as much like dancing around in the grass as possible and training and just enjoying his life, and didn't care about like upward mobility or anything like that. He was just like happy to just turn up, do the job, and set up his life so that his job was low stress and low cognitive load. Incidentally, he ended up becoming
Doing really well.
Yeah.
So that the people that I come into contact with who love their job usually aren't doing it because of the salary. And I think a lot of the people that I've spoken to were like people who are like in one of our programs who are leaving their job. It's they started it because of like the gross annual salary. So I think certainly the world I was in, like there's a lot of talk about, people are leaving that accountancy firm to go into industry, and all people talk about is the annual gross number.
Because at the end of the day, it's just...
But you're not taking home. Because it's getting chipped into like a motherfucker.
Home, but like no one ever talks about the hourly net pay, which really is because you don't get hours back, but money renews monthly. So every month someone puts money into your bank and says, I'd like all these hours, please. But no one thinks about that. They think like, but it's 55 grand instead of 50.
Yeah.
So what was the point off the back of that?
Juji Mufu working in a job that allowed him.
Oh yeah. So like, so you're in this position, you don't like your job. What do? I would say, do you have anything in your job now that you are much better than your peers at? So I think a lot of people have like a skill that they might be like outstanding at, for example, that's a specific skill. And you think, well, could I go and just do that somewhere else, for example? And maybe not chase the number, but instead just chase the interest. And I mentioned this in the last podcast about what Alan Watts speaks about, of like, if you are genuinely really good at something, firstly, you'll enjoy doing it because you'll feel competent. You'll feel like you're adding value. And if you're very good at it, chances are you'll be able to command a good salary or a good fee or whatever. So that may then manifest in a business, or you may need that skill may be required in another business. So like people who are like interested in photography, for example, who might be exceptionally good at that, might go and do that for another business or go do it for themselves or whatever. But I think the decision to like set up your own business there has to be a desire to want to do that. I think that if there's not a natural, like, I really want to do that, then I think it's probably a bad idea.
Is it not probably as well, if your particular passion or whatever it is that you have this pull towards doing for a profession can't be facilitated by somebody else?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
with me, I
couldn't go work for
another promo company running these events in these clubs because they didn't exist.
Yeah, and we were the same.
Yeah.
So like, I think that probably comes from pursuing an interest rather than a salary. And if it turns out financially successful, that's kind of a side benefit.
Yeah. On a point about the salary thing, my flatmate at university went out of uni and went straight into, so he did it, this was 13 years ago, or 12 years ago, so it would have been before placement years were quite as ubiquitous as they are now, that pretty much everyone that I know either does a gap year where they'll go travelling or does a placement year in industry or whatever it might be, especially in business related degrees. He, 21 years old, out of university, wet behind the ears, had lived at boarding school throughout all of like 13 to 18 as well, so had just been completely insulated for all this time, well-rounded guy, went straight out of university, straight into the Aldi graduate scheme.
Oh yeah.
Which is 60 grand a year with a free Audi.
Yeah.
But no one told him 70 hours a week and he'd be travelling all over the Northeast.
Yeah. I remember I knew a few people who, it wasn't Aldi, I think it was maybe Tesco did a similar one. But the Aldi was the one that everyone spoke about as being like,
because the salary was
the
good.
mental salary.
Yeah, see, I remember that as well. Like, thinking like, ooh, Aldi's.
But people got sent to like Bradford for 6 months with no warning. And you're like, all right, you just
you know what the like on-ramping process was for that? You had to spend the first 2 days as a checkout assistant.
You have to work your way up from the bottom.
Yeah, but you just do it at like an unbelievably accelerated rate. It's like you move through someone's career of just 15 years in the space of like 2 months.
Yeah.
That's quite clever, actually.
It's
cool. You get the full stack experience.
We said it on Business Principles 101, you need to understand everything from the ground floor up.
From the technician to the manager.
That makes sense. But I mean, so this guy was in OTC, so he's an officer training corps. Like, he's a hard guy, like fucking could stick stuff out, was happy, and he was, 21 years old with 60 grand a year coming in and an Audi A4 parked outside. Lasted 6 months.
Yeah.
Lasted for as long as his probation was through, so that it didn't look like he quit at the first hurdle. Gone. So when that sort of thing isn't right for you, it's interesting. One question that comes to mind at the moment: do you think that there is a job out there for everybody to, like, a job that someone loves out there for everybody?
Probably not.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I think that there's this, like, you can get paid for your passion and everybody can just monetize what they love, man. And it's like, I still fucking need my street cleaned. I still fucking need, like...
That's a different question. Is there a person for every job versus is there a job for every person? And I think the problem is that everyone wants to be an Instagram influencer juice plus coach. But maybe not. But there's vast demand for certain jobs and there's very little. So like, we know someone who very cleverly, so he's a smart guy, had an option to go into investment banking or corporate jobs, and instead said, I'm going to go into construction because I have this level of interest and drive in something that I know that if I were to apply it to investment banking, I would be in a sea of extreme competition and not get anywhere. Whereas if I enter more of a blue ocean and really pound it in the construction management sector.
So he saw a weak competition professionally in a particular sector.
So it's really clever. Then, like, if you're willing to do a job that is kind of boring or unsexy, like, so I know someone else who runs a Portaloo business and he's doing really well. because like it's not a sexy, but he doesn't care.
That's still kind of hunting for the paycheck, though, isn't it? Like that. I suppose it is all just about. So it's kind of the Mark Manson subtle art of not giving a fuck. It's like it's what you're willing to tolerate. So there's a part in that book where he talks about like the person who loves the 9-to-5 job is the person who is all right with the shit things about the 9-to-5 job. The person who's good as an entrepreneur is the person who's all right with the fact that like next month
you might make no money.
You might make no money. Next month, in 6 months, you might be out of business.
I like that because there's no value judgments applied to either one. It's like, what is your tolerance for uncertainty or for security?
So that's the next question. Like what we're talking about is, should I work for myself? Choosing the role, the relative benefit versus risk or downsides.
I've just seen the last line.
Oh no. I said to Yusuf that I had a special question for him. Right. I'll do it now. I'll do it now. So I wanted to ask Yusuf about specific Arabic approaches to business, because Yusuf is mine and Johnny's window into the Arab world. And I just wondered if you have any family members or any friends that are Arab who
sell batteries,
have a particular approach to business, and if you had anything,
I mean,
signature to do with their style,
to do with Arab business style. I mean, my Arab family still believe that homosexuality is a disease that is spread through advertising on the internet.
Oh my God.
And so like,
is this the 1660s?
But Arab. So you're gonna have to elucidate on Arab business principles.
Arab approaches to business.
I'm sure there was a module at uni where you could study like, because haven't they got different
do you mean
banking rules?
Yeah.
No, I don't mean. I mean cultural approaches to
not Islamic finance principles, because that's a thing in itself. I wrote a dissertation on that.
Oh right, that's what. Yeah, right. Okay.
No, not that. I mean,
so not the thing that I know loads about.
No, I mean
the thing that he doesn't know anything about, but you would like him to.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
What?
Like if you made your brother run a business.
Okay.
Or your sister.
Yeah, that's it. Right. So my brother has done business in Egypt, and they're very much about like, oh, come in, Habibi, we will do big deal with you again, like making big promises and not actually delivering on them. Or
is that just part and part? What happens when they don't deliver and you go back and you say,
everyone's just late and kind of, this is Egypt, but also there is more of a sense of like, maybe it's a political climate, but there's a situation where like entrepreneurial characters will create jobs for themselves out of exploitation. So like you'll have people who are employed by malls to open automatic doors for people. So the automatic door's there and look at as you're walking past.
You're fucking kidding.
Like just because they have to fill up their numbers, like so that the mall has to like set a certain number of employees for their thing.
So there's a man who waves at the sensor.
Yeah,
for a fee.
For people,
they're getting tipped.
He wants a tip, yeah. But then there are other people who will just create their own, so that in the street they might like you'll be parking and they'll like stand behind you and be like, yeah, fine, come on, and you'll be like, I don't need your help, I'm fine, and then basically they're blackmailing you, because if you leave and you don't tip them, they yeah.
Well, it's a dysfunctional, all that stuff. It's the same, and I am around these guys all the time, and they're lovely. I just wish that they would go and work behind the bar, toilet attendants in nightclubs.
Okay, so similar approach.
I
you don't get your car key.
I want to get my own paper towel. I want to put the soap on my own hands. Like, I don't want to feel guilty every time that I go to the bathroom. When I work in clubs,
if I were doing what they do, I would invest like the first week's wages, or however long it takes, and I would buy an iZettle contactless point of payment. Because like,
and they say, how much do you want it?
I'm not sure that all of these guys are running
legit.
It doesn't matter about that. I know what you're saying, but like, how many people have a couple of quid? How many people have a contactless card or an iPhone? Or
so this is.
I just think they get more, even if it's now taxed. God forbid.
No, I'm not.
This is a controversial point though. Like
I see what you mean.
I've heard someone describing homeless people as trading in guilt or trading.
I was in a blog post that
trading in shame. It was an old coach that I had that said that, and I was like, it took me a while to kind of get around what he was saying, but I suppose like homeless people, I don't think they are trading in shame. I think they have no choice, but the people in the
attendants.
that you're right. The social cost of leaving is like, well, he did get the paper towel for me, even though I didn't want him to. It's imposing a service on you. Or like in America, have you been to New York?
Yeah.
Where you get people who go like, yo, you like rap music and you can buy my CD, and you're like, no. And so it's like.
So it's homeless people in America do this a lot. I've just come back from America. And when someone has no other option is when I'm like, well, cool, man, like get your hustle on. Like I'm sweet. As long as it's not stealing, as long as it's not illegal, like if you can make some cash, then fantastic. But when we were in a soft top car and guys would come up with like their dirty rag t-shirt and be like, hey man, you want your car washed? I'm like, mate, I'm at a fucking red light. How washed are you going to be able to get the car in the next 15 seconds? Yeah, with that t-shirt that I've just seen you take off.
There's an important business principle behind that, isn't there? Which is don't force something on the market when there's no demand for it.
Don't force a shit service on the market that doesn't want.
Yeah, like you it's not for you to decide what the market should have and should want. It's like you look for the demand and you redirect it to your service because you offer a better option than
there was a
the
beggar
alternative.
in Vegas that was just standing there going, does anybody have any money for hookers and cocaine? And I've never felt more of a pulling to just go like, because he made me laugh, and I thought like,
so he's redirected the demand of like
the balls on that guy to just like, this is what I'm going to do with the money. Can I have some money? And he looked like, from his little collection, looked like he was doing all right.
Have you heard George Carlin address that? Where he's like, when people say like, maybe you see a homeless guy and they're like, I'm not giving him any money. He's just going to spend it on cigarettes and alcohol. It's like, well, that's what I'm going to spend it on. Like, and what else do you think he's going to spend it on? Like, he's not going to go buy some real estate, is he? So like,
that was a point that Rory Sutherland made about the fact that if you give money to people in small amounts, they will buy immediately gratifying things, because in small increments, money can only give you small amounts of happiness. And conversely, people think, don't give people from low incomes like all of their year's allowance of payments in one go, because they're just going to spunk it all and do whatever. But the converse is actually shown to be true. That if you give someone £100 every week, they'll just keep on buying fags. But if you give someone £5,200, they'll actually think, oh my God, I've got £5,200. Look at all of the things I can do with this £5,200.
That's so interesting.
I should save some. I should.
Yeah, I can invest some. I can buy, I should buy a bike, and then I can get to work, and then I can have
fags.
Yeah, as opposed to what can you do with £100 a week? Like, get yourself pissed and have a tab.
Loads of wine gums. So
wine gums.
Is that what you do?
And fudge.
So Arabic approaches to business. We've got the fact that they're a bit like forthcoming, and everyone kind of plays the big man. Anything else? Any other sort of signature?
Playing the big man, over-promising, under-delivering.
Mm-hmm.
It's very macho, kind of not wanting to lose face and being very kind of like quite chest-beaty.
Does everyone wear shirts that are open down to the sternum?
I mean, I'm massively generalising, but like
that's the point. That's what we're trying to do here.
I imagine very hard negotiations, shouting.
Very passionate, but then again, like
Dax wax,
but like
Brill cream.
Then again, like all Arab countries are countries that operate functionally and have a full spectrum of business people. So there are very sensible, quiet business people that work for kind of corporate.
Look, what we want to hear about.
Chris wants you to pretend that
they're all just
stories.
like Cuban drug dealers that are just like,
because that's what they're like, aren't they?
Aren't they?
That's what we thought.
Thank you. Right, getting back to whether or not we should work for ourselves. So relative benefit versus risk. We just touched on it there. I think personal preference and actual approach to risk is a big part of this. Like, can you deal with potentially going for 2 months or 3 months without earning any money?
Yeah.
That's both a financial question and a psychological question. Like, are you able to take the concern of fuck, I might make no money this month. And then I might not make any money next month, despite having done 40 hours a week.
With it.
Yeah. That's why I could never be a trader. Can't be a trader.
Oh.
Every time that I try and trade, can't do it.
So this is a case of what's your threshold, because even full-time traders say don't trade for income, trade for wealth creation, growth of capital, but have a separate income. Because if you're reliant on your monthly paycheck is dependent on your profits from trading day to day, and you're watching that horribly stressful
the red
graph.
candlestick.
Oh,
it's the same reason
disgusting.
why surgeons aren't allowed to operate on family members. Is that true?
I imagine so. Yeah,
Because you just can't see the wood for the trees, can you? You're just panicking. So you buy or sell or do something stupid.
If I was a full-time trader, my anus,
long Nike,
my
Adidas,
anus would be
Bitcoin,
constantly
BlackBerry,
pulsating.
Ubisoft.
The boys are laughing because the couple of forays I have made into trading have been
things you like.
Bro trading.
Chris,
So
you did
Some
really
things
well.
that are
I did do really well.
Really, really well.
I like
Chris fashion.
I like the trailer for the new Call of Duty game, so I bought some Activision and
So that's a really smart play, and I bet it worked out really well.
it went up.
There you go. Like all these people looking at like GDP forecasts, and you just like, well, Call of Duty comes out in a month, so all these traders are going to miss that.
Anton, come and talk to me, mate.
Get Anton on.
Yeah, what else? What are some of the other things that people need to consider? So we're talking about a sideways move from your current job, which you hate, into potentially another job, or then perhaps working for yourself.
So,
because sorry to interject, even if you have a passion that you like and you can monetize and do all the rest of it, if psychologically your profile doesn't allow you to not to have self-directed work and not have a boss who's laying out your structure for you, it's going to be difficult. Maybe you could get a PA who could try and structure your week, perhaps, or something like that.
That guy who paid someone to slap him every time he went off task. Have you heard about this?
No, is that like the ultimate Pomodoro discipline?
Yeah, I thought one of you sent this article to me. Is it a guy paid someone to just sit in a cafe and watch him work and slap him whenever he like changed tab or changed app or anything? And he said he didn't get slapped
that's
once.
worth every penny.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, it was the most productive
So
day
he paid per slap, or did he pay per hour?
per hour.
That's like playing for clicks or impressions, isn't it?
Yes. However,
Bastard.
I think that's what you said there about the sideways move is really interesting point, because the first decision is, should I work for myself or should I not? Can I tolerate the uncertainty of income? And then secondly, like there is probably a lot of benefit, a lot of advantage to working for like a small startup of like 5 people or 10 people.
George is doing that.
Yeah, so George is doing that. You're exposing yourself to a huge potential upside with like maybe even if you can get like a share in the company or whatever.
George did that.
But also,
Talking about George.
the sideways move, like if you're going to, so like we were saying with Johnny, like going from accounting to something that you can still leverage those skills, but in a different, at least go into the right sector, like go into something that you slightly more aligned with what you want to do.
Was there a moment when you were like, right, this is it, I'm out of here? Apart from obviously that moment was technically when you sent the message that said I'm leaving.
It's like you don't send a message, you go into an A to Z menu, go to R, click resign, fill the form in, then press yes.
Wow.
You know when you just feel like they're going, no, please don't go.
Was there this decision has permanent consequences?
It felt very final.
Was it a cancellation funnel?
No, there wasn't actually.
Really?
No, there was nothing there.
No objection handling?
No.
I suppose by that point.
Was
it too expensive?
Was it are you sure? And then the are you sure button was in the opposite colour to the one that you think it is.
It's green. Are you sure you want to resign? No. Oh, God! Dark patterns. I remember filling out the form. Becca was in the shower, and I was like, I better, fucking hell, like press like hovering over resign. I was like, she go, am I definitely going to do this? She was like, yeah, well, I'm like,
thanks, Becca.
and then you're like, there's the immediate moment of like, what have I done? And then you're like, oh, actually, this is exciting.
Started whistling.
But it was
immediately.
But I tried before I left. I tried to do something within the firm that was like a bit more in line with what I found interesting. So it was like they were looking at bringing in loads of new like AI and smart technology and stuff, and they were looking for a team of people to like front that. And I got offered the role to do it, to be on that team. I had to go down to London, and like you get to see the Canary Wharf office, and it is like super, like you're like, fucking hell, this is awesome.
It's cool. Yeah.
Got offered that, and then told my like line manager, this is what I'm going to do. And she was like, oh yeah, cool, but like you're doing it on top of your audit work. And I'm like, fine. So I literally thought at that moment, like, I'm quitting.
Done.
Wow.
Didn't say it to her, but and then I then spoke to her on the phone, and I said like,
would they be able to enforce that? Like if you just said no, like they want me, I can.
no, because it's all under the same. There is a call that they do where they'd say like, what are you going to do? Like we can talk about matching salary and all sorts of stuff. Like, where are you going to work? It's like, I'm going
home to sit in my pajamas.
I'm going to start and try and grow an online fitness business. And she was just like, all right, well, I can't compete with that.
Yeah. What was yours, Yusuf?
Very, very similar. It was like send the boss, and so it was throughout the year having to keep it completely under wraps that I'm applying to med school, because it would be the end of the job because you were on like a training program where they're investing a lot in you. Even flatmates didn't know, family didn't really know. I think Johnny knew towards the end.
Fuck me. So you'd gone
so it was
like full Egyptian
Ops,
Secret Service.
Black Ops bodybuilding project.
Stealth mode, and like preparing for this entrance exam, which was like every day after work, 4 hours, weekends, just all waking time, just pounding it through the whole time. And then when I passed it, I was like, right, I've got like 3 weeks to give in my notice and then to get set up. So I sent the boss an email as soon as I got the result. Can I have a chat with you on Monday? Met up on Monday, sat down in the little room. She was like, so you're quitting, yeah? Like joking. And I was like, yeah. She was like, oh, you're not kidding. Okay. What are you going to do? I was like, I'm gonna go study medicine. She was like, oh, thank God. I thought you were going to say you're going to work for Goldman. Okay. Well, I can't compete with this, so good luck, but you must specialize. Okay? Don't be GP.
Your GP.
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you knew that you wanted to not do BlackRock and to go and do...
Quite early on in BlackRock.
Okay.
Because... probably
I'm just trying to find that identifier, yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, it's like you go to New York, you see the intense passion that everyone has for the job. Like they send you for a month in New York and you have to do like a bunch of induction stuff, and you see people there who are just all like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, super like masters in various financial sciences and really just so passionate about this stuff.
Fucking love it.
They absolutely get such a stiffy over it, and like people like they'll have high powered execs from different parts of the company coming in, and they're like bursting for these questions. Like, oh, what do you think about like potassium exports in Kazakhstan? Do you think that's going? And you're like, oh man,
You're like, mate, do you think I'm a fucking
Do you think I'm a fucking prick?
And then you chatting to them over breakfast. You're like, oh, this is a nice breakfast, and they're like, yeah, so. What do you think about fixed income in Europe? I'm really interested in bond pricing. and so you just think like you can't maintain this. And then once you get back, you look at the progression, the people who are 10 years ahead of you, and you think, I don't want like this is the direction that you set on. You don't want to be that person, or you don't want to like nothing about this whole path is attractive.
You didn't want to be that person right then.
Yeah.
So 10 years of that person.
As if it gets better, but it doesn't. Yeah.
Because I think, like, I remember thinking, like, what is the best case scenario? If I stay here and everything goes perfectly, what will be happening? And, like, I'll be round that corner, much older than I am now, having been here for ages. I'll still be looking at a very similar laptop, just looking at slightly different spreadsheets. And have
you only got one screen as well.
One screen, yeah. Oh, they have. Sometimes they give them a like VGA to VGA.
Oh, cool.
Or A to B HDMI now. But like a lot more responsibility, a lot more money, but like same building, longer hours, more like your life's exactly the same. Just when in the time that you have when you get home before you go to bed, like if you want, you can buy like really posh things online, and then at the weekend,
like seltzer water,
like loads of it, and then like you go on nice holidays. So in like the 25 days a week that they give you,
yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
I wish.
That would be mint.
Yeah.
25 days a year that you can spend out of the work. You can go somewhere that costs you more money.
So I
live in a bigger
spent
house,
all
that
of
sort
my like holiday time like standing in surgery, like shadowing surgery.
Oh,
it was like
God.
a pre-application thing. But, oh, did you have a nice holiday? You're like, yeah. Watched loads of appendectomies and
kidneys.
yeah.
But I think if the best case scenario isn't like, wow, then like, what's the point?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
you might as well. So I thought, like, I'm just going to position myself in something where I'm like, if that really works out, that'll be fucking class.
That's the George
And
McGill approach, isn't it? Like, what decision would produce the most luck? And just going with that.
Yeah.
Such a great metric.
Well, I'm like, you in a job, you have someone decides your upside for you, and your upside is on a trajectory. You can't really accelerate. Like, you can't do a year faster.
Yeah.
How fast was the trajectory?
Like, it's 3 years to qualifying, and then it's like normally 2 years, and you make manager, and then it's a certain amount of time manager, and then you make. And obviously, yeah, and most people leave. That's the business model. But
It's so weird, isn't it? Like that. Your progression, because there's so many people creaming off the top, and because progression is based in a lot of bureaucratic organisations based on seniority, not on capability.
it's based on time served a lot of the time. Because otherwise, like, you would employ grads, and then the smartest grad, you would just take him up here and give him the big, like, if he's legitimately smarter than all the management, then like, why would you not promote him? But he's got to have the time.
Experience.
But there are points at which like even experience is outpaced by intelligence. But this idea that like you can't really accelerate that, so you're going to be in there for that amount of time anyway. If you don't really like that, then
I don't know. I think it's a lot to do with the way that people are wired, and
Yeah,
I hope
definitely.
that people aren't getting like triggered by. Well, like you can be, but
This is just our experience. Though,
it's the way that it's the way that, and it's the fact that all three of us are wired the same way. But I think a lot more people are than think that they are.
I certainly, like, a lot of my friends are working in accountancy jobs and, you know, seem to, at least they don't say to me, like, I hate it, but I'm suppressing my feelings. Like, they seem to like it. And we disagree on it. But, you know,
that's a preference.
that's a
isn't
preference,
it?
yeah. Like,
I think
it's interesting that I feel like I get a lot of judgment about what I'm doing. I judge them, I suppose. But, like, as long as they enjoy it, I think it's great.
So I think maybe going back to the Daniel Sloss jigsaw analogy, like different people value different things, right? Like those people, it was totally like you said about Juji Mufu, that he had a job which facilitated him to do the things he cared about, which happened to be his side projects of training and doing acrobatics and other things like that. Other people might really fucking love their family. Their family might be a huge part of their thing. And as long as they've got the money that they need to be able to take life on and then spend time, because they got a massive family, or they really love their brothers and sisters, or mum and dad, or their boyfriend or girlfriend, or future wife, or whatever. Sick. Like,
Whereas,
that's fantastic.
We are three slightly autistic young men with no family, and so what our preferences are doesn't.
Well, I need to.
reflect a lot of people that-
Weirdly enough, we fill the void. I say this all the time. Like, Darren, my business partner, has a family. He has 2 dogs and a wife, and now 2 beautiful baby boys. I also have a family. Mine are just businesses and projects on the side. I have a podcast, and I do my modeling, and I do traveling, and I do, you know, to roll it out. I do property and blah blah. Like that is my surrogate family, because I think that a lot of people have this pent up forward momentum that they need to invest into something, and they might invest it into dog, football team, some sort of passion. They might invest it into family, like growth of the home unit, whatever it might be, or they might invest it into business. And it's weird that you're right, there's this weird sort of value judgment about, well, the Gary V hustle and grind says that you know, if you're not making a business, then it's fucking bullshit, mate, and you're just working for the man. It's like, well, no, like if you value the stuff that's outside of working for the man, crack on, because the man's going to facilitate you, because you can turn up to work, you have to do something catastrophically fucking shit to not get a paycheck at the end of the month.
You literally have to get fired, which is actually a legal process, which is a nightmare. Like, to fire someone is difficult.
Lemon
difficult. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, I think so there's definitely judgments both sides. So like, I think entrepreneurs judge people in jobs because like
Working for the man, mate.
Yeah, and like people in jobs judge entrepreneurs because they're like, oh, they're waste man, like they never do anything.
Yeah.
But I think the only time I think it's a shame on both sides is when people are doing something and they're just like shagging their short term everything because they are so entranced by this idea that like when I earn X,
I will.
It'll all be brilliant. And like something that happens when you are running your own business is you're exposed to like when you're earning salary, like you get like $2,000, like yeah, you get a bit of savings and maybe get a bonus. But when you're an entrepreneur, like you might your revenue will be this. Revenue will be this, but then revenue might be this and it might be this. So like this month, and you I don't think you know this, maybe you do, this is the biggest revenue month we've ever had in Propane.
Man, congratulations.
Well, yeah, but like I don't care, and I thought I would. Like I remember the entire time doing this, thinking like when we pass X, I'll be so. But like I live in a reality where it's proven that it just doesn't affect anything. Like there's a number on a spreadsheet somewhere that's different, and it's past a mark that you set for yourself arbitrarily.
When you think of your life like that, and you think like, well, what would be different? Like I'd wake up and I'd have a coffee, and I already buy the coffee.
Yeah.
Would I buy a nicer coffee? Well, I mean, I don't have a coffee at all, but but like
I'm not a nutter.
Fucking psychopath.
But then, are you like, I put on a pair of shoes. Like, would I buy a nicer pair of shoes? Okay, if I did, could I buy them
subtle
now?
changes.
Like,
yeah.
you probably could afford all the little upgrades that you want now. Like
Mr. Money Mustache.
Oh yeah, well he says just get the upgrades immediately as soon
or
as
like
early
he
as you
like
can.
has like a really nice coffee and a really nice piece of chocolate, and it costs him like £1 more.
Yeah.
Right.
But his quality of life is like
way.
So then, if
Yeah.
your income was to double,
what would you do?
what else would you do?
Yeah,
So this is something that I think about a lot, and it's something I've talked about a lot as well. It's a shame that I've not done this at the start of the podcast, but the relative difference between how materialistic you are and your means to be able to get that end is one of the biggest determinants, I think, in terms of someone's satisfaction, especially now.
Yeah.
Like if
you're very materialistic, but you don't have the means. Big sadness.
Catastrophe. Like if you've, because I don't know whether you could class it as like a genetic predisposition, but it's certainly something that your family will have instilled in you. If your family always bought nice things, if there was an atmosphere of keeping up with the Joneses, if prudence was kind of looked down on or just wasn't something that was drilled in, then you are going to have a higher natural level of spending than we do. Like all of us here are quite scrimpers and savers, and if that's you need to get your fucking nose to the grindstone, because you're going to be unhappy, because
if you have a high preference for
spending
stuff.
Yeah, if you like nice things, if you always have to have Gucci sliders and you always have to have that sort of stuff, you better hope that you're going to get a fucking good job.
Well, the fact that I walked in this t-shirt and you both were like, that's not your t-shirt. Says
I
exactly that.
find I spend a lot less on stuff I thought I'd spend money on. So I thought I'd spend money on like constantly getting new clothes and like constantly, like I thought I would have like lapped up the latest laptops and all that sort of stuff. But actually the stuff I spend like disproportionate amounts of money on is like fucking
training courses.
Yeah. And I'm like, and yeah, I do have moments where I'm like, well, why am I doing this? And it's not because I can earn more money so I can buy
more courses.
Sliders. Yeah, I just like find it really interesting. And when you just like in a world where it's just all just really interesting.
Well, you always make a return on investing in yourself
in some way.
So it's especially business coaching or business, like
or anything like
unless
that,
you buy the £4,000 down to £350. What was that one?
the ultimate bundle.
Yeah, Yusuf bought a bundle. He just got fully upsold. Went on a website.
I think 50.
Oh, right.
But it was like down to this.
It's like 19997.
99.8% off or something.
Yeah.
It's just
good reason.
So yeah, materialism and means to achieve that or to get to that is like a real big thing, and I'm very thankful that I don't have that. That I've had the same car now for 4.5 years.
I think as long as I've
No, he had a Renault,
Black Megane, and there was an RS, and then after that I had the Audi soft top, And then I've got this.
I knew
But like, it's to the
that.
point where I'd forgotten you had a
on
rent.
those cars.
yeah.
So it's been that time, but in that same time, I've got 4 houses.
Yeah.
Like, because for me, and even that's not about wealth creation. It's about I am liberating myself from industry which is very fickle, and I just feel like
You barbelled.
Yeah, I'm less at the mercy of something that's like that. But yeah,
Well, what we'd all do in companies that like hockey sticked and went mental growth wise would not be all buy Lamborghinis. We'd probably all be like, right, like who can we bring into the team? Like what? Like let's get this office because it'd be cool to all work
might get
together.
one Lamborghini.
Maybe we'll share one. But do you know what I mean? Like
You wouldn't get one, would you? If you had £50 million, would you get a Lamborghini?
It does interest me that what is the amount at which that seems reasonable?
Like what percentage of your total
your
net
wealth,
worth
yeah.
would you?
Yeah.
That's a very good
Once for
question.
another time, I think.
Let's do it as the next thought experiment in Business 103.
How much money does Yusuf have to have to
Spend any of it frivolously.
God, I just had another point. Oh yeah, so all of us have been in situations. So is your trading story?
It's on
Yeah,
some
we've
life
got it.
fails, isn't it?
So you were put in a position that again. So the reason I referenced the revenue thing is I just don't think unless you have this big windfall like inheritance or something, people aren't presented with X amount of money and then 10 times that suddenly. It doesn't really happen in life. But if we've all been in a situation where something like that's happened, has it affected your happiness? Have you suddenly thought
I'm so much happier.
life's complete now.
But
I don't
there's
need to do anything else.
There's that really well cited study in America, isn't it? I think it's $75,000 in America, or £58,000 per year is the point at which an increase in salary essentially has no impact on your amount of happiness.
It's mental, that, isn't it?
Yeah, 58,000.
You hear that and you think bollocks.
Fuck off, man.
Yeah.
It's quite scary because
And 58
everyone's pitching for everyone's driving towards
Especially
maximising
people
that.
who are already over that, who are still going for more, even though data suggests.
and their past experience, which is even more valuable to those people. But
Yeah.
crazy.
So I suppose if you're in a job, you're thinking about leaving it, and you've experienced a pay rise, and your happiness hasn't increased in proportion to the pay rise, leave.
There we go. Any other points?
I am not professional. Do not take my advice as serious advice.
Yeah. So Daniel Sloss has the number of divorces and breakups that Jigsaw has caused in his Twitter bio.
God.
If we start totting up the number of people that have left their jobs to go, do not ring me. I repeat, do not ring me and tell me that you've left your job because of this. Have a strong and frank discussion with all of your friends, and then message me at ChrisWillX on all social media.
Enroll in Propane Business and we'll teach you how to do it.
We've had a lot of people that have quit their jobs over the last few months because their revenue just completely.
It's so ballsy. But the other thing as well to consider, which is a total other element to this, is most jobs, in the same way that Juju Mufu had his, most normal jobs that don't take up too much of your time will not prohibit you from starting a business outside.
Yeah.
Why can you not? Because inevitably the first 2 years, no matter how fucking good your business is, the first year of it, especially if you've never done business before, the first 2 to 3 years of it, you're going to see growth at a pace which is so slow, it's fucking unrecognizable.
You see losses most of the time. Statistically, you'll see big losses in the first year. Definitely.
Lots of business are lost making up to £1 million revenue. Bonkers. Bonkers. Like big businesses. Like that, you remember the book? There's a really well-known book called Ready, Fire, Aim, which talks about challenge from 0 to 1 million, acquiring a base of customers to generate a million in revenue.
But you'll be loss making.
But a challenge from 1 million to 10 million, just trying to become profitable.
Fuck me.
I can't get my head around it. But yeah, you're right. You can't. There are things you can wake up and do in your 10-hour day, however long you want to work, but that's not going to make the business grow any faster. Yeah. Chances are, unless you're doing really revenue generating things.
So that's one of the things people are saying about the podcast. Oh, hey man, so what are you going to do? You're going to start doing that more.
Or ads on it.
Yeah, and I'm I
start doing it more.
What do you mean more? What's more? Produce more than 2 episodes a week. There's an upper limit on how much time people can listen, and I think that's about twice a week. If I'm wrong, tell me, but I don't think I am. I'm not wrong. So, like, what the fuck am I going to do? Yeah, upgrade the fucking production quality, but that's just a matter of investing in kit. What would I, like, if I was doing the fucking podcast full time, what would I do?
What would you do differently?
Just write up loads of really, really fucking well-prepped notes.
That's why the top podcasts are not purely profit-based. Like, they started and probably still are very much passion projects for people. And, you know, like the Joe Rogan one kind of has become profitable as a result, but I'm sure he's turned away a lot of sponsors and things.
Someone's tried to put him onto a exclusive podcast network. So, you know, like iHeartRadio or something like you have to download the app to listen to Joe Rogan. Like, and that would be worth, to any company, it would be worth a stupid amount of money.
So it'd be great for him personally, but he's probably beyond the £58,000 of income.
But it would be great for him personally, but terrible for his legacy.
Yeah.
You know
He's at a point where like brand is more important than revenue, really, in terms like short term.
I think it's always been that way.
Even if you were viewing it purely financially, if it was like, do we make this decision short term?
But he can monetize harder, even if it was financial. He could. There would have to be. It would be an inordinate amount of money.
Yeah,
like Arab Sheikh money.
Oh, right.
You know, like billions. Yeah. On a side point, have you seen the video where someone's cut all of the times that Donald Trump has said the word billions?
I have, yeah.
Billions and billions and billions.
It'd be hours long, wouldn't it?
It's about 10 minutes long.
It's lots of billions.
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember hearing Jim Wendler, who made 531, like the strength program on the internet. He did like a 30-minute video about like business, and he's a super like no bullshit man.
Meat and potatoes.
Like big, bald, bearded powerlifter, done lots of drugs, very honest about it, extremely strong, squatted 1,000 pounds. Like, you don't
1,000 solid
1,000 solid ass. You don't get to that point by like getting sucked in by fads. Like, that man has squatted until he squatted 1,000 pounds. And he just said, when you're starting, just don't do it for income. Don't do it to be your income source, because you just make decisions that prioritize getting money in now over the long-term trajectory, which is why we talk about like have your freedom number, the number that your revenue has to get to for you. Like, right, I could leave if I wanted to. So know what that is for you, like know what your costs are, build your business to that point, and then either you've doubled your income or you can leave and maintain your income.
Also great.
Like zero downside, infinite upside.
It's a really nice little rule. Well, I hope that
it's a massive one.
I hope that we've helped some people in understanding where they're at with their career and stuff like that at the moment. I think we had some questions, didn't we? We have had some questions submitted. I promise that we will get round to them. We might have to peel off a little bit of Business Principles 103 so that we can do them. Any stuff that you want us to speak about, whatever the topics are, whatever the issues are that you're encountering with career or business, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And do not forget to get a lovely buttery psoas from So Right. They will send out one of their great manipulation tools to one person who leaves us a review on iTunes or wherever else you are listening. So leave us a review there and I'll choose someone and let you know. Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.